Welcome to the Why Music podcast, where we talk to independent artists about their journeys, the inspirations behind their music, and ultimately why they make music. This next artist has made a name for herself in the Irish music scene, blending the styles of pop and R&B, and now breaking into the London scene. She's conquering a whole new territory, one release at a time. Welcome, Maria.
Hi, nice to meet you. And that was such a nice little introduction as well.
Thank you.
No
Um,
worries.
I always like to start with where your music journey kind of all started.
Okay, so I guess it started when I was like 12. I was always good at singing, so that kind of was like I was lucky in that sense, but I never really kind of took it seriously until everyone was like, Maria, this is like you're really good at it. You should probably do it, you know? And then I started taking lessons here and then. And then it was like one thing that I was like really, really, really good at. So I was like, "Do you know what? I'll see where it takes me." And then I just fell in love with the whole like being on stage. And then from singing, I learned how to songwrite. And then I was like, oh, I have all these stories now that I can create music out of. And then I suppose it was like an initial like it wasn't an initial love, but it was like it's something now that I cannot live without. It's like it's part of my identity. And I feel like without music, I don't know who I really am, which is kind of scary, but it's also really beautiful. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, so did you just kind of, through messing around with whatever music things just kind of fall into songwriting, or was it something that you kind of went into intentionally? Like, how did that part of being an artist for you start?
So I think it was just kind of like um I was studying vocals and I just seen how other people were like writing songs and I was like, as a vocalist, you just sing other people's songs. And then I was like, okay, well, I don't know any instrument. And then I was like, okay, I'll pick up a guitar. So I got a guitar and I started writing. And I would post like all these like really cringe covers because I wouldn't be able to play the guitar properly and I'd be really slow, but I'm like, you know what, I'll do it. And then over time, I just became better. And then I started learning my own chords. And then I started like humming, and then words would come out, and then I'd have so much to say. And it just naturally kind of worked out in a way that now I'm like, I love what I make. Before I'm like, maybe I was a little bit like experimenting a lot, but now I'm like, yeah, yeah. So then I picked up I learned the piano as well. So now I have two instruments, and I mainly write on the piano now because it's way easier. It's like four chords, so easy to play. Um, but yeah, that's how I kind of got into songwriting, kind of through wanting to have my own stuff. Really, that's yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, and like you said, maybe the initial stuff was just kind of a little all over the place, but you got to
yeah,
start somewhere, right? You got to
yeah,
write some
yeah.
nonsense before you write the stuff worth keeping around, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
funny like that because like I like write like little like hooks. And then if I look at the hook, I'm like, this is not worth exploring. I won't explore it. But other people are like, no, everything is worth exploring. But I'm in my head, I'm like, I already don't like it and I'm not gonna like it later. I'm so weird like that. And everyone's like, I have like 1,000 songs. I'm like, I don't have like that many songs because I'm so particular about everything that I finish. You know, and when I finish, I'm like, it's my kid. I'm like so like precious about it. And I'm like, oh, I have to give it out to the world now. Um but and that's always like a very nerve-wracking thing, like releasing. But anyway, like it's more like enjoying what you do rather than what people think of what you do. And I've learned
Absolutely.
that over
Yeah.
time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about, and the thing is like, yeah, release day can be nerve-wracking because you went from putting all of this time and energy into the song itself to putting it out for the world to see in a way of like they can think whatever they want to think of it, and you're
Yeah.
just kind of like subject to that, and you just kind of have to take, whether you kind of want to or not, you just have to sort of take that compliment or backlash or what
Mm.
however the
Yeah,
however
yeah.
it works. But at the same time, it's like, you know it's part of you, and so putting it out there is like putting yourself out there, so it's just
Yeah, yeah. It's like
this whole
so
thing.
vulnerable, but also so exciting because then you're sharing something that you worked so hard on. And then
Hmm.
people most of the time just tend to love it, you know, but people also tend to fixate on like the negatives. And I feel like I've gotten so good at not doing that anymore. But I feel at the beginning, that's what I used to do. I used to like release and then just be like, oh no, it's just not going as I thought it would. And then over time, I'm like, no, this is just not how we're going to do it this time, you know? And I think just the way healthier process as well overall. It's like you write music because you want to write it, not because you want people to like it, and people liking it is a bonus. It's not like the aim. Well, most of the time.
Yeah.
But you'd want to like have people like it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it's like a different approach, which it is way better for me as like a songwriter.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good way to think about it is it's about it's about enjoying the journey. It's about putting out a product that you're proud of, happy with, et cetera, et
Hmm.
cetera. And like you said, the goal is to share that and put that out into the world. It's, like I said, it's a part of you,
Hmm.
it's continuing what your artistry represents and all that good stuff. And, if you go into it with the intention of making it for other people, it loses that personal artistry touch.
Yeah,
And if
exactly.
you're just doing it for some sense of approval, that's not really what's going to, continue to challenge you to move forward and continue to build who you are as an artist. And, mentally, also a really good thing to go into it with just like it's a sense of accomplishment. We're making progress. Like people might like it, people might not. That's just how the world
Hmm.
works. There's no one thing in the world that everybody loves or
Yeah,
everybody hates. Like
exactly.
there's an
Exactly.
audience for there's an audience for it no matter what it is. It's just a matter of who that is and how you find them.
Hmm.
So looking at it in a way of I'm just going to give this what I have and
Exactly.
make it a reflection of me, and just whatever however it's perceived is how it's perceived. But I know
Exactly.
that coming out of it, I was real with it. I did what I needed to do. I gave it my best foot forward, and that is that.
And I think it's also like so much better to write music that you like rather
Hmm.
than having to write music that is like liked in general. Because I feel like when I write, I always like in my head, I'm like, okay, I should go like this. Like I'm so like when I'm in a production session, I'm like, okay, I want this to do that and then that. And then my producer, he knows exactly what I mean. Like if someone else in the room, they'd be like, she's crazy because I'm just saying this and this and this. But like when it's something that's really like very popular and you're just mimicking another song, you're just not motivated to do anything. You're kind of like, should we say this? That's what they want. And it's just become such a like effort and it's not as nice like
Hmm.
writing. It's like a chore rather than something that you like. And that's when you can fall out of like liking it, like writing music. So it's kind of like you have to be really careful how you approach things
Yeah, absolutely.
in
It's
general with music
yeah.
because it is like it's something you do because you like, not because other people want to like it. And
Hmm.
yeah, also being true to yourself, I think
Yeah.
it's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you find
Mm.
most often inspires your writing?
Um, I think um I would just go on my piano if I feel inspired, if I have like a hook. What I do, I have like on my phone, I have so many voice notes of like little hooks that I have just kind of out of nowhere to just come to me. And then one day I would just sit down and I have like 200 to go through and I'm like, this could be a really good idea. I go on my piano, I play chords, and then um it just kind of comes together and I just go into the studio and then we just kind of bounce ideas off each other, me and whoever is in the studio. But I feel like also life experience really is one thing that um influenced a lot of my music. Um and I feel like it just kind of capture how I've grown as a person, all the songs that I've written. And like a lot of the times I'm like, I don't want to have like a song that's really vulnerable because I'm like, oh, it's there. But it's also really nice because it's there and someone can really relate to it like you have. So I think, yeah, I think it's a mixture of ideas and experiences in just a nutshell. But yeah.
Um, yeah, I think, there's kind of I like the way that you answer that because there's kind of two parts to it in a way of like where the ideas come from and then also how they develop. And sort
Yeah.
of that evaluation process of, like you said, what's worth pursuing, what's maybe just an idea for the sake of being an idea, and it just existing as an idea served its purpose, whereas it doesn't need to continue into being, a whole song because, like I said, you have to write stuff that's not great and not worth finishing in order to get the stuff that's worth finishing.
Yeah, yeah.
If every song idea you wrote was worth finishing, you'd never get through it all. You know,
Yeah.
it's like every idea is not your great idea. They can't be.
hmm
That's what makes it a great idea, is if otherwise they'd all just be
True.
ideas. So, but yeah, yeah, I mean, life always kind of channels a lot, which again goes back to that whole being a real artist and, writing what you feel like you need to write and creating what you need to
hmm
create and just delivering what you can.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If you had to create a new genre around your style of music, what would it be called?
Oh, that's such a good question. So at the moment it's pop R&B.
Hmm.
So like you're looking for a name.
I'm looking for something new. Tell me something I haven't
Oh.
heard before that would put you in your own category in a way of like your catalog is the extent of the genre. Like, what is your
Hmm.
category that you're in all by yourself?
Do you know what? I think a lot of my like songs that I have at the moment, they're very like drum and bass, but also like vocally layered. And the vocal layers are used as instruments. So maybe I'd call it drum and voice, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because like I'm thinking of one song in particular. The whole song is just a harmony that's made sound like a sample, like a keyboard plays it. And I think that can be it because we have like just a strong drum pattern and then we just have the voice running through the whole song. And I think that's a lot of like my music as well. And Fade, for instance, the verse has me just humming and that's made a guitar. So that's like yeah, it's I think that's the uniqueness of my music anyway. I have like a lot of voice that sounds like instrument, but it's just me. Yeah. Just me humming. I'm like, what can we do here? And I'm just like humming that my producer's like, that's a great idea. And then it just makes me like a guitar. So yeah, okay, drum and voice. That's so
Okay.
funny.
No, I like that. You took
Yeah,
a spin on something that already exists and put it like, and it very much fits with the way that your songs like come to life. Like
yeah,
it very much is fitting for your category. Do you think that like you
yeah.
said you were thinking of one song in particular, and does this, would this also encapsulate like other songs in your catalog as well?
Um, yeah, a lot of my unreleased stuff is really heavy with drums and voice. But Fade is the one I have released that it's like kind of going in that kind of direction, and that's where my music is gonna go to. But also a lot of like R&B pop as well. But yeah, I think even when the studio, like when we go and we start with a drum pattern or just like voice. So I think that's why it kind of is really like prominent in my music because that's how we start the journey of a song.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. No, and it's always cool when a song kind of develops around what it's like foundationally built on. Because sometimes you have the initial idea and it trails, as it builds, like you lose some of that foundation from where the song started. But,
Mm-hmm.
to maintain that from top to bottom really is like, it's speaking to not just what the music at its end result sounds like, but also where it started is still like that integrity is still intact by the time we get to the end result.
Yeah. I feel like even when we write music, when we have the first demo, I get so attached to it. And then you just kind of see it go through so many demos. I'm like, but I like that at that version. I like this version. And I'm like, okay, just leave it. Like, remember it, just trust the process. And then when you get to the end, you're like, okay, I see why I shouldn't have just gotten so attached to the first demo. But it is so hard because as a writer, you're like, oh my God, that's the first thing we wrote out of this song. And I love it. But you're like, no, this is way better. You just need to like accept it.
Yeah.
And I'm so bad for that because I'm like, yeah,
It's hard to let go of where it started. That's where the
it's so
song, like,
hard.
that's the first time you like hear it in its complete form of like, you know where it started, you hear that foundational
hmm
stuff, but like it is hard to wrestle with giving some of that up and changing it and taking it from
Yeah,
where it started to where it needs to go. There's
Exactly.
sometimes some resistance there, but like you said,
Oh yeah.
it's all necessary to get to that end
Yeah.
result.
Yeah, and I always get really stuck as well with like some hooks that I'm like, they're perfect, but they're not perfect. I'm just in my head, I'm like, they're perfect. And then when my producer is like, I think we could do this. I'm like, no. But then he's right. And we end up doing it, and I'm like, yeah, it was so much better. But in the moment, I'm like, no, but you just have to trust that also what people think and say is gonna benefit your music, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad I do trust them because so many like hooks have changed. And even like with Do You, the Do You was meant to be the chorus was meant to be the bridge. So he was like, no, it's such a good part. Let's make that the chorus. And it just kind of like, yeah, it's really important to have that external input to your songwriting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and
It's
those outside because you're only seeing it through the lens of which you wrote it. But when you
yeah,
get
yeah.
that sort of outside perspective and that objective view, it's kind of like, okay, like looking at it as all one thing where you're kind of seeing it in layers and all that. They're kind of seeing it all in one thing and they're like, okay, like we can kind of move some pieces around, we can add some things here,
Hmm.
subtract some things there. Like it's you're showing them a like idea that seems like not smaller, but like more
Mm,
compact than it is when you write it because you know what all went into that. To them, it's just this thing. That's all it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they can build on top of that. But you've already taken up a lot of that space with writing it and doing all of that part of it.
It's such
So
a good way of looking at it.
it's kind of a
Mm,
balance of navigating, okay, how many, like, are my layers standing in the way of this progressing? Or, where are we kind of at? How are we finding this balance of, outside input and new ideas that I don't
yeah,
necessarily have the room to come up with? How do we kind of make those happen? So it is
yeah,
always, that's why like co-writing is such a big, like it's such a good
yeah.
thing to do is because it's like I probably never would have written it that way. The melody, if it
That's
was
so
up to me,
true.
would have looked totally different. But here we
Hmm.
are, and it's great because it wasn't me. It worked out because it was this collaborative, we worked together on this kind of thing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like everyone has their own like different like melodies. I have like tendency of rhyming you so much. In all of my songs, I think I have you rhymes in everything. Because it's just natural to me. But then when I go in a room with someone else, they have such a unique, different sound. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And I would have never been able to do that if I weren't there to see it, you know? And I think yeah, even with co-writing, it's such a fun thing to be able to have their individual ideas coming to a song, and just also lyrically wise, um, and like rhythm and lyrics, they just come in so nicely together, and so people can just really get that. And I think that's really cool when you can
Yeah.
use like that to your advantage. And obviously there's areas I'm not as strong as other songwriters, and then it's nice to be able to have that pickup. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really, really cool. Yeah.
It's always good to have somebody carry the weight where you don't carry it as well.
Mm,
Like I think that I'm someone that writes like choruses really well. Like those are always like I do the catchy thing. Like
hmm.
I find that those are always like my strongest points. My verses don't always hold up as
I'm the
strongly as the
same. Verses are
choruses.
so hard to
Verses are hard
write
because it's like you have
sometimes.
to balance detail and like telling more of the story with still like staying on topic. And I feel like I end up just I think too much about it sometimes and just end up
Yeah,
doing more than I need to. But,
yeah.
sometimes and then like some people I've written with are more like that's where they're kind of leaning into it. Like if I have the
Mm,
foundation, they can run with that and do the verse thing and we're good.
yeah,
So it's all about finding that balance and also just knowing your own strengths and weaknesses because that can help
true.
enable those gaps to better be filled.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like with verses, with me, what I do, I write two hooky verses. And in my head, I'm like, that doesn't sound like a verse then, because it's too hooky. I don't even know if that's a word.
We're
But
going with
I
it.
just made a word. Um, but yeah, so that's what I struggle a lot because I just make them too catchy and then it just doesn't fit in because then there's a
Mhm.
pre-chorus. I'm really good at pre-choruses. Like they're my strongest point. And then choruses are okay, but I think yeah, verses can be tricky because you're
Hmm.
painting a picture also, you're setting the scene and it needs to be done correctly for everything else to stand properly, you know.
Yeah.
But I do like bridges and I never get to write bridges because
You
nowadays
try to
they
write
just
bridges
don't
and they just turn
exist.
into choruses.
Yeah, yeah, literally. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Um, but yeah, they're not really necessary anymore, I guess. But it is nice to have that kind of like transition to the last chorus. Um, but yeah, they're not necessary, so it's fine. Forget about it. Like, what happened there? Oh yeah, I just totally forgot to write a bridge. Yeah. That was just not the chorus.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a song that you've released that you think best embodies who you are as an artist?
Oh, okay. Let me
Like your
think.
one song sample of, if you like this, you'll like the rest. A song to kind of sell somebody on being your fan.
I think it's Fade
Okay.
because it's really like from the songs that I've released, it's the most different one. And it's the one that I think um is really like melodically different also from like different like from like the rest of the music that's out there. It's very like unique in that sense, but also it's really drum and bass and drum and voice actually, the new genre. Um which I like. But also the lyrics. The lyrics are like my favorite thing about Fade. It's about overthinking when something is good in your life and kind of like assuming it's gonna go down and not end up the way you want it to, you know. But it's funny because when I wrote that, I kind of wrote it from what I was like seeing, not experiencing. And then when I released Fate, I start experiencing it. And I'm like, oh my God, I just manifested
Hmm.
everything in the song. So yeah, it's like my child because like I did it from like oh yeah, this is a cool thing to explore. And then I got to actually experience it. And I appreciate it way more because I got to think everything I was saying in that song. Just crazy. But yeah, that's the song that is like I also love the chorus so much. It's so big,
Yeah.
and the verses are really like head bopper. But yeah, that's the one.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
I like that you said that it kind of like brought it into existence because I have felt that way multiple times with releasing music of like not
Hmm.
necessarily being immersed in it in that experience or in that feeling when you write it or when you're working on it or anything like that. Like I have a song that came out in 23 that was on my album called
Hmm.
I'm Not Okay. Writing that and like making that and all that, I was
Oh,
totally fine. Life was
yeah.
chilling. And as soon as it came out, I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't even think that anything happened. Like, it just might have just been you just woke up on the wrong side of the bed and things don't feel great right now
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah,
day.
yeah.
But it was just
Mm.
like, literally, it was like, day that came out, I was like, okay, did this one to myself, I guess. And it's happened
Yeah,
on
I
other
know.
occasions, but it's a
Yeah.
weird thing. It's not like when you think it's in the writing process. That's how you're dealing with it. That's how you're
Hmm.
going through like that's how you're getting yourself over it. But no, it's like could have been sitting on this song for 6 months. The day I drop it, that's how I'm gonna feel about things. You know what I mean? It's
That's so
crazy.
funny. Yeah, no. I'm really careful when I write music. I'm just gonna write happy music from now on. Just good, good songs. I don't want to be sad.
Yes. Manifest the good
No.
vibes. Yeah.
But no, I seen a video on TikTok about, I think it was like multiple celebrities talking about how like so many songs of their own have manifested in their lives. I
Mm.
think it was Billie Eilish, it was Dua Lipa as well. They were just speaking about manifesting, and I was like, whoa, the power of music
Yeah.
is wild.
Yeah. Gotta be careful what you put
Yeah.
down into lyrics, I
Yeah,
guess.
I know. Just gonna say, I'm rich and I'm happy. I just bloop it.
Yeah. I don't think it's uncommon, but I don't think it's talked about as much as it happens. Because I
Yeah,
think
I
you're like the first
agree.
person that's come on here and really said something about that, but I've been thinking about that for the last like 2 years.
Yeah, it's
It
just
doesn't happen
wild.
every time, I don't think. I mean,
Mm-mm.
some songs it's easier to happen with others because some are more directly like about something and are very like more vivid
I
and
was literally
real.
just gonna say that, yeah, because like you're writing it from experience.
Hmm.
But when you don't write songs from experience, that's when you can experience it, you know? So it's that kind of
Yeah. Yeah. If
Yeah,
you're not
yeah.
feeling it when you write it, you will feel it later. If you're feeling it when you write
Exactly.
it, you might be okay. You might be
Yeah,
safe.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Might be just,
Maybe,
50%.
maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's funny.
If you had to
Yeah.
pick two or three artists that you think your music is like a combination of, who would it be?
Mm. I think Tate McRae, she's got the drum and bass kind of sound, the Timberland um sound. So her definitely. I think that even when she started releasing music, I have a song called Consequence that's not out yet. And then when Greedy came out, I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I love to make. So she's definitely one. I think also Ariana Grande, she's like making that kind of sound of music as well. And one more. I love Ray. Ray, yeah. I think Fade kind of sits in Ray's little big, crazy, amazing music. So yeah, I think them three definitely would be like
So,
a good combination of me.
what aspects of each of their music specifically do you think best aligns with your music?
I think from Tay McRae's a production, also her melodies as well. Sometimes they're really hooky. I think from Ray, it's the darkness in her music, and I think from Ariana Grande, it's the vocals,
Okay.
the nice airy, breathy um sound. I think that's yeah, yeah. I think so.
No wrong answer to
Imagine I'm
that. It's however
completely
you see
wrong.
it. It's however you see it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see it that way, so it has to be
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. There we go. Assertiveness with that answer. That's what we
Yeah.
like to see.
Yeah, yeah.
What is an outside passion of yours that you feel impacts who you are as an artist?
Oh, that's a good question. I've never thought of that. Passion. I don't know. Do you know what? Actually, I used to be a dancer.
Okay.
I danced for, I think, 10 years. So I think that could be what like really pushed me into like loving the drum and bass kind of stuff. I used to do freestyle, and that's like really quick. You need good stamina. And I don't write like that kind of quick music, but I think with that kind of music, you have to feel every rhythm. So I feel like that could be the answer to the question. Because I can't think of anything else that I do. Like I'm just, I come home, right? That's it. There's nothing to it, like. Um, but yeah, like definitely dancing or reading. Maybe reading actually also. I feel like if I read something interesting, I'm like, I want to write about it. Or like movies. Also, I love like a lot of my music is also created around a quote, which I think is really cool. Like if I have a topic, I'm like, okay, let's look at Pinterest and see what quote like comes up, and then like I like that, and then I just kind of build around that. And I love poetry too. Oh, it's so funny. I was like, I'm not gonna have an answer for this question. I have like 500 answers. I don't even have one. I'm going to have one answer, and I have like so many.
I was just gonna
Yeah,
say you went from I don't really know how to answer that to oh okay maybe this to that and
yeah,
and this and oh maybe also this. Yeah. No. I mean, yeah, I mean
yeah, yeah.
it's part of because like when you write from life experience and that kind of thing, it's part of that is what you consume and what you are, involved in and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So, I think it's not, you know, uncommon to have it be like if you do a lot of reading, that kind of comes from that, there's no wrong way about
Make
it.
a
It's just a matter
Shakespearean
about
song.
how it all aligns, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's true. That's true. Yeah. Never know. One day I could just like have like quotes after quotes in a song and nobody will cop it. They'll think it's just an original song, but it's just so many quotes from different movies. And then I'm like, yep, I did that. But it's just not my work. Yeah.
This is the point of the podcast where I take a question from last week's artist for this week's artist. And so the question for you
Mm.
is, how do you determine who you want to grow with musically in terms of like working with?
Oh, so like someone in my life at the moment.
Like how do you basically like how did you find or how did you like lock in with the like producers you work with now? What is it that you
Oh,
look for in somebody to collaborate with in a way like that?
this is such a funny one. Because my producer, I haven't like I now I started to work with more producers, but when I met him, I was like, this is it. He's gonna be my producer forever. Because he's like he understands me um so well. Like it's like we kind of have the same vision. I come in, I'm like, I think this will be cool. And then he just understands it completely. And then at the end, I come out and I'm like, this can't be any better. It's like it's really funny, I know because like we worked together for like over 3 years, and I'm like, if I make it, he's gotta be with me because like it's that bond now, It's like
Hmm.
it's not my music anymore, it's our music,
Right.
because a lot of like people like when they write songs, they have other people to help them, or some people just write them by themselves. But with him, like most of the songs that I've written, he's part of them. Even like saying like, "Oh, I think you should change that word." Little tweaks like that, like can change a song so much. And I think, yeah, probably him. His name's Alex. But yeah, and it's funny because we went to the same college together, but he was like, is it 2 years older than me? So we never spoke. And then it was like, how did we not like know each other? But yeah. And he's also a really good person too, which adds on to like it's easy to write music with him, and it's always really fun. And it just adds to like the beautiness of music. It's fun and also amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's such a funny. He's gonna love this answer so much. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. And it is good to find someone who you can connect with in a way of building a rapport to the point of I can bring you an idea that I put together and you can tell me what's great about it, what it needs, what shouldn't be there, what should be there, like all these things of like I'm basically
yeah,
bearing a part of my creative self to you and you're turning around and telling me how we can make it an even better part. So,
exactly.
that's
Yeah, and I
yeah,
remember with Fade, there was one lyric that I thought was so like poetic. It was beautiful. And then I was in the studio and he just turns around and he's like, Maria, like this can be interpreted so racist. I'm like, how? And I was like, dude, it's just so funny. The lyric was there's no darkness in your pigment, as in like there's no meanness to you. Like I meant it in such a nice
uh
way. And then he was like, Maria, no. And I'm like, oh, like if he wouldn't have told me that, that would have been in the song and it definitely would have been canceled. So, but I genuinely, like, I was like such a poetic, I was like, everything was so poetic. And then he was like, don't do it. And I was like, okay, I see what you mean. Thank you so
Mm.
much. This is why I'm actually bringing him along because he just saved my ass. But no, yeah. But yeah, it's so funny when I always think about it because now I can't unsee it. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, that's definitely something that you leave it up to interpretation could be taken in the wrong way.
yeah.
Clearly
Just
wasn't
don't have
intended
that.
that way, but at
Yeah.
least it didn't make the final cut, you know?
Thank God. Because like if you don't leave room for interpretation when it's like positive or negative,
Hmm.
it's better. Then
Yeah.
kind of like make your life easier. No
Hmm.
haters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What question do you have for the next
Hmm.
artist?
Hmm. I think um hmm, I don't know. Let me think of a good question. Is there one song that they just can't release and why?
Oh,
Yeah. I feel like this can go in many ways. I think that's
yeah.
cool.
That's interesting. I like that. Yeah, because there's probably some like there everybody's got something they're sitting on, whether it's, I just can't bear to finish the idea, I just can't bear to put it to my name, like whatever the case may be, like there's something that's just, you know,
Yeah.
one like some people just get really perfectionist about things, and so it's like this song that they feel like is like the thing just will never get done because it's like if it's
Yeah.
not perfect, it's not done, and so
Yeah.
That'll bring
I
some
feel like,
interesting responses
yeah,
for
I feel
sure.
like I have songs as well that I'm like, they're just too vulnerable to release.
Mm,
I feel like if they're out there, I'd feel like a little bit empty or something.
mm.
Um, yeah, like so I remember one song, I think my very first song, it was like the saddest song like that I fully finished. It was like the saddest song. And then even when like I would perform it, because I performed it in front of people, I would just like be so sad after. So I'm like, this one song that I don't think I'll ever release. I think there's just so much like to it that I think obviously past that stage, but when I think about it, I'm like, it's such like important stage that I'm glad it happened, but I want to keep it, you know. Maybe
Yeah.
I will release it one day. I don't know. I don't know. That could change, you know?
Yeah.
But at the moment, I'm like, no. It's gonna stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it that you think sets you apart from other independent artists?
Hmm. I'd like to say my sound. I feel like, um, yeah, like I can't say personality because like I don't like I love social media, but it's so hard for me to be an influencer. So I think that one thing that I'm good at is just kind of sitting and writing and then having that and giving it to the world. And I think over time, my sound has changed. And I think, yeah, I think I believe really much in what I like, what I create. So I think that's the correct answer. But I wish I could say my personality. I really wish, but no, I can't.
It's that
Yeah.
drum and voice.
It's yeah, that's what it is. It's a genre. I should have said that. I should have said
Yeah.
that. It's this new like thing I created.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think to that same note, like some people do the social media thing a lot more naturally than others. It's just
Mm,
like anything in life. There are some people that are just, this is naturally what they're drawn to, or even not even fully naturally, but like this is something that they can really make work for them. Other people, it's like, this is the last thing I want to have to do. Why do I have to do this? Like, this isn't for me, all that good
yeah.
stuff. And so, I do think like maybe even if it's not in a portrayed kind of way, your personality as an artist, and this goes for everyone, is like it is what in a way makes you unique. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of how you then translate that. And so in this case, we're translating it in drum and voice, but
Yes.
that's still the backbone of it all. We wouldn't be in a drum and voice kind of space if you weren't who you are as a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So personality is different. Social media just might not attest to it.
Yeah, I think that's what I kind of struggle with, kind of how to get myself across, just who I am, you
Hmm.
know? And I feel like when I record videos, I just cringe. I'm like, oh God. And then I just never post them. And then I think I was in a period where I just posted everything,
Hmm.
and then I just can't look back at it. I just can't do it. I'm just, you know. And then I remember I did like a video on a story of me speaking about a release,
Hmm.
and I just felt so uncomfortable because I wasn't speaking to anyone. I was speaking to a camera. I think that's why I need to like kind of get better at just speaking to the camera, and that's it. You know, because now I'm speaking to you, so it's easier, you know, but like the camera's not speaking back to me. So I'm like, I look like a fool, but it's not that at all. It's just in my head, you know, so I just need to break that barrier,
You just
you
need to
know.
get a big cardboard cutout of somebody. Like pick out your favorite celebrity, get a cardboard cutout, put the phone, like strap the phone to their chest, and just speak to them, and you'll be good.
Yeah, people think I'm crazy, but like at least it'll work, you know.
Whatever gets the job done, that's all that matters, you
Yeah,
know?
it's
All you got to
true.
do is just accomplish the task.
Yeah,
So, but yeah.
yeah. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should call it drum and voice and just, you know, do loads of like weird stuff on, like say loads of weird stuff and then just post it. And that's it. And then if it doesn't go, I was like, it's not my fault. Actually, drum and voice, my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What impact do you want to have as an artist and with your music?
Mm. I feel like the questions just keep getting harder to answer.
We're almost at the
Um,
end, so it can't get much harder.
okay. Um, hmm. I think could be probably like to be able to relate to something that's that's different, maybe. I don't know. It's a really hard question. I suppose like if I were to ask my younger self, like, what do you think this music that you write now um does for you? I think with me anyway, it would be like a sense of like what I write is very like raw. I do have like a lot of like symbolism and stuff. And I say like I have a lot of similes. Yeah. I think being able to relate to something, and that's like, yeah, like that's something that I really relate to, and be on that journey maybe of the whole song. I don't know. I don't know. I think that's the best I can answer that question. I genuinely don't really know. I think, yeah, connecting to my music, probably. And I think that also my music is like the lyrics might be like sad, but it's also like um not sad. The melody itself, it's dark, but it's like hopeful. So maybe I kind of that. Like, the lyrics might be sad, but then you're looking at the whole thing is not that sad. So maybe, kind of seeing the light at the end. Maybe.
Yeah. Putting a hopeful spin on some things that might not be the most fun at the time.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the right answer. I think it took me a while to get there. I was like, whoa, where am I going with this? But yeah. Yeah, I do actually, yeah, a lot of my songs, like if they do have like sad lyrics, they're like the the backing track is just not sad at all. There's no piano or it's just drum and bass. So yeah. Um yeah.
Yeah, no, there's like I said, there's no wrong way to answer these. It's just a matter of how you feel and what you
Yeah.
think, what you think your artistry does, what you think it has as far as an impact, like all that stuff. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
There's no way other than the way that it is.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Um, I think that brings us to the final question, which is
Mm. I'm so
why
scared for this one.
music? Why music?
Okay, why music? Um, I think, yeah, like if I were to do music, I don't know who I am without it. I think all my life I've just, been a creator, and to have that not be part of my life, I wouldn't be who I am right now. I wouldn't, like wear what I wear, say what I say, act the way I am. I think it's such a big part of who I am. And even if, like I don't make it big or whatever, I think I'm just so content with the person I am today, and that is shaped so much of my life, where I am. Even when I come into London, like I don't think I would have ever done it if it wasn't for music. Like the people I surround myself, likewise, they're people that I value so deeply and appreciate. And without music, I wouldn't know them. So I think everything about my life is music. So the reason why um I done it is because I think without it, I wouldn't be who I am. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah. Bit
mean,
of a
yeah,
deep
that's
answer. Yeah.
is that the right answer?
Probably not, no.
No, I mean, it's like you said in the beginning, like it's the only thing that you've ever really felt like is you. And
Yeah.
as scary as that is to look outside of that, it just shows the, level of impact that it has being a part of it and
Mm.
doing the thing. Music it's a really cool thing to be able to do. It's also a very complicated space at times, but it's all like there's a reason that we go through what we go through as creatives to do the thing that we love to do.
Yeah.
It's that labor of love. It's that I would rather do nothing else.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
frustrating as it might be at times, and as complex as it can sometimes be, it's worth that labor of love.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like even like all the like times you're like, okay, this is just not for me. Like I think I had like one day I was just sitting on the couch and I was like, what now? What do I do now? And then music was just not an option because like even if I did think it was like it was just not an option anymore, I'm like, but then what? Do you know, like
Hmm.
all my life has been revolved around music. So without it, I just feel like nobody. It's so weird. Like even when I was thinking, I was like the scariest thought I could have is just not being part of music. So it's like a funny one, definitely. Just kind of like taking that away from someone, like something that they really love. But yeah, I suppose like if it's something that you truly find to be important to you, you'd keep it in some capacity in your life, you know,
Yeah.
whatever capacity that is. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think that brings us to the end of this episode of the Why Music podcast. You can check back again next week for another conversation with another independent
Hmm.
artist. Thanks for
Okay.
listening.